coming from the great American Southwest, from the very low desert. Good morning, good evening to all my listeners around the world. I'm your host, Lionel Tavares from the Sabbath at Midnight, and here to bring you another episode. So as always, let's give thanks first to the Father in heaven, Jesus Christ, for giving me another day to be able to live and breathe and continue this podcast. And thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. So with that being said, let's move on. So today our guest, very exciting guest, very different from our usual guest. This man is very big on writing about conspiracies and esoteric knowledge and just all that, all that stuff that we really don't dive into. We're going to be talking specifically about a subject called the Montauk Project, which is a very real thing. If you ever heard of the TV show called Stranger Things, we're going to be basically talking about the real version of what happened about that. Stranger Things is a TV show on Netflix. It is an adaptation of a true story, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to say everything in that show is real, that would happen in real life, but that's what it's based off of. So to give you some information, but let me give you some insight on our guest. So tonight's guest is Brad Olsen, author, publisher, researcher, and one of the most recognized voices in the world of alternative history and forbidden knowledge. He's the creator of the award-winning series Esoteric series, including Modern Esoteric, Future Esoteric, and Beyond Esoteric, where he dives into history, secret societies, government cover-ups, and the mysteries that shape our world. Brad has appeared on shows like Ancient Aliens, America Unearthed, and Coast to Coast AM, and he's a featured speaker at major conferences like Contact in the Desert and the Conscious Life Expo. So let's get into this episode. But before we do that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow us on all our social media platforms. We are on every single one of them, so please don't forget that. Also, if you have a story to tell, if you have your own testimony, we would love to have you on the show. It doesn't have to be about aliens or demons or ghosts. We want to hear your testimony. It could be whatever happened to you that made you turn to Christ. And it doesn't even have to be that. If you had a crazy experience that relates to aliens or demons or ghosts or some kind of, anything that's out of this ordinary world, we also want to hear your story on the show. We are a Christian podcast, but you do not have to be a Christian to be on the show or have Christian views. So don't be shy. You can get a hold of me at sabbathatmidnight@icloud.com. You can also just send me a comment on YouTube or hit me up on Instagram in a DM. I'm very easy to get a hold of, especially on Instagram. I'm more active on that one. So let's move forward. So like I say, hit the head, grab yourself a coffee, kick your feet up, and let's get ready for a very exciting episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the Sabbath at Midnight. I'm your host, Lionel Tavares. As always, extremely blessed and glad to be here. Thank you, Jesus, for another day on this earth. So tonight we have a very special guest. He goes by the name of Brad Olsen. And just a little bit what I know, this man has been researching a specific subject that we're going to be discussing tonight called the Montauk Project. Now, if you haven't heard about this, it's a very it's not even a conspiracy, it's a fact, but there's a lot of conspiracies in it. But it is a fact that Montauk Project happened. And if you ever seen the show called Stranger Things, let's just say we're going to be talking about that. Just a little bit about that. That show was like it's kind of like like a mainstream version of what happened out there. So we're going to be discussing that. Very cool stuff. Before we get into that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe on all our social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, the whole nine. We're on all of them. Please give us a follow, share, and spread the word, because we are probably most likely shadow banned because we talk about a lot of cool stuff here. So with that being said, our guest here, Brad Olsen, please introduce yourself. Tell us where to find your stuff. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into this.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. It'll be a great conversation. My name is Brad Olsen. I'm a author, researcher, publisher at cccpublishing.com, where we have books of other authors such as Leo Lyons-Agami, Michael Jaco, Laura Eisenhower, and several more. I am the author of the Esoteric book series, the very popular series that gets me invited to speak at a lot of conferences around the country and soon around the world. I've got 3 bookings in different European countries in the next 9 months. So looking forward to getting some travel in. But travel is really my foundation. I started as a travel writer. I did several books on sacred places, and I've traveled the world, all 7 continents, including Antarctica by sailboat about 7 years ago. And my 11th book is coming out at the end of the year, and it is called Secrets of Antarctica. And if you guys want to get into that too, we can go down that rabbit hole as well. But
would love
to hear from both you guys.
So just really quick, I just want to give you a big shout out and respect because, dude, traveling is really hard. At least for me, it is, bro. I hate traveling. I hate the plane. I hate my ticket. I hate finding the right window, the bag. Oh my gosh. So I got invited to my first conference a couple months ago, and it was fun. I had a great time, but yeah, you got to get used to that traveling, man. You got to get used to that traveling, just not having your own room. Like let's just say, you run out of underwear. That's like a big deal. You got to go get underwear. You know what I mean? You got to just do all this stuff that's just very easy when you're next to home base. But I respect a lot of that. Respect that a lot about you. But moving forward, let's get right into this. So we're here to talk about the Montauk Project, but I would like to get into that Antarctica stuff too. But let's start with the Montauk Project now.
Yeah.
For the audience, give them a little bit of what we're going to be getting into. As far as I know, we're going to be talking about, a secret military project that happened, was it in the 60s, 70s? Go ahead.
Mostly in the 70s.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into that. So for I know, Montauk Project, those of you that watch that show Stranger Things, we're going to be talking about that literally, but the real version. And Montauk is literally something that happened in Montauk, New York, if I'm correct. And it is a military base that exists. It's a real thing. And if you look into it, you will see that there's a lot of connections there, even to the Philadelphia Project, I would say, if you guys even know anything about that. But with that being said, let's get into what this project was. Let's start from the beginning. The beginning could be different for you, but for me, it all started with kidnapping those blonde-haired, blue-eyed children, or it could be before.
Yeah, they're known as the Montauk Boys, although a few girls were involved. They mostly needed adolescent boys for these time travel experiments. And we'll get into some of the nitty gritty of it all and how it ties into the Philadelphia experiment. But I think you saw my video on Facebook Reels about 2 weeks ago when I just came back from a trip to Montauk. And I'll tell you, the thing about traveling, guys, is when you put yourself in that position, it really does take the research to the next level. Because I've read hundreds of books, written a dozen myself, because my 12th book is coming out in 2 years. And it is, the place itself gives you a lot of information about what went on there. So we went to Fort Hero, which is now a state park, almost at the total end tip, the eastern portion of Long Island. It's about 2.5 hour drive to go from Brooklyn on one end of Long Island, which connects to Manhattan via the East River on the other side. So downtown New York City is connected to Long Island, but it's very Long Island and it's very strategic. So we'll just start with a little timeline. And that is, first, it was a very sacred native place to the Montauk Indians, who are all but extinct now. But there are several burial mounds at Montauk, including one that we went to. It was a hotel, and it was a haunted hotel. There's even sightings and ghost hunters that go there, built right on top of an old burial mound. Probably not a good idea, but they're kind of capitalizing on that. So what I'm saying is, it was a recognized sacred place by Native Americans. There are crucial key ley lines that cross there, including pyramids. Peter Moon wrote his 3rd book in his series called The Pyramids of Montauk. And he had pictures of them, one of them above ground. And I was talking to a researcher who had a book he wanted me to publish and showed me the underwater features off of Montauk included submerged pyramids.
Oh, wow.
there's a lot of energy focused on this little tip. And at the very tip, of course, is the lighthouse, which was commissioned by George Washington himself. And Fort Hero is one of the oldest bases in the continental US. It is that strategic.
Wow.
So over the years, as a radar station, which you can still see the giant radar dish is still rising above Camp Hero, but then it became this underground bunker and base during the Cold War era. And when they built it out to withstand attacks from marauding army, I mean, that both air, land, and sea, it was a stronghold. So Camp Hero was very, very strategic. But then after the Cold War ended, it pretty much didn't really serve much of a purpose anymore for a military strategic defensive position. Then it took on a new role, and that is the underground bunkers and spaces, which we were standing right above when I shot that video with Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot was in the video, Laura Eisenhower, who knows Stuart Swerdlow, one of the last remaining Montauk Boys, and also Mike Barra, who is a researcher and on ancient aliens. The four of us were in that video and all laid out some very important details about what went on there. And so when I say it's a good thing to put yourself and travel to get in those positions, one thing I noticed was that the forest around it was very dense, and the trees were even twisted and really gnarled too. May have something to do with that cross intersection of ley lines it's on. But there was a story of one of the Montauk Boys escaping in the 1970s, and he made it through this dense thicket of woods and found his way to the town of Montauk, and went to some people who wanted to help him, but they called the police. The police called the base. The base came out and picked him up and took him back, and he was never seen or heard from again. Wow. So this goes real deep, and it goes into the town of Montauk itself, which is an old colonial town that also dates way back. But that was the location where they were able to manifest entities.
Yes.
In the physical form, using mental projection out of the Montauk chair. And that was a chair that was recovered from one of the crash retrievals. I think most notably it was from Roswell.
Wow. So I want to get into that right there. So Dominic, when you want to hop in, you can. So I want to get into that. So I read these books. I read the 3-part series many years ago. If I'm correct, they weren't just manifesting creatures. They can literally manifest whatever they were thinking, right? There was some kind of, wasn't there some kind of amplifier to help their brain? It was the chair itself, right? But there was more to it, right? Yeah. So this chair, if I'm correct, had, a certain amplifier to their brain capacity, if I'm not correct, if I'm mistaken. And when I read those books, it blew my mind because they were literally doing what the New Agers call manifesting what you think, but they were literally doing it. Like whatever they were thinking, they were bringing into reality. Is right, and correct me if I'm wrong. And with that being said, for the audience, when I brought up Stranger Things, just to kind of connect that, so people, the people that don't know about Montauk Project, at least they've seen that. Is that kind of from the from in the show? There's no chair. Let's just get that. There's no chair in the show. There's just these, I would say, these Jedi kids. You know how the Jedis are? They can control things with their minds. That's the way they portrayed it in the show. I'm gonna pick up this car with my hand, type of thing. Now, I don't know how far that is from reality, from what we're really talking about, but would you say that these kids they portrayed in the show, even though you haven't seen it, is that kind of what they're trying to do? They're trying to say these kids had like a extra kind of genetic, something in their biome, that made them have these special powers, because they were just specifically kids that were picked with blue eyes and blonde hair. Like, how did they know these kids had that special ability? What is it about the blue eye and blonde hair that gives them this special ability? Do you have any information on that?
Well, they have psychic abilities.
But why?
They are being tested for.
Okay.
The psionic abilities to either use their mind with telepathy, telekinesis, bending spoons. These are realities. This is what I've researched and written about in my esoteric series books, primarily in Beyond Esoteric, where I also get into the Montauk chair. And as I said, it was an amplifier.
Well,
so just to take it a step back, when the crafts were being recovered in the 1940s, including Roswell and Aztec and several other locations where our scientists were able to backward engineer and look at these down discs. And what really baffled them at the beginning was that the pilot chair, which became the Montauk chair, there were no instruments. There was no way to fly a conventional craft with it. There weren't even windshields. It was just the chair itself.
Okay.
Which could fly the craft. And then going a little bit further, then they found that the outer core, and indeed the entire craft itself, had a form of consciousness and was alive. So they're literally flying these crafts with their mind, with their psychic abilities, with their psi abilities. And so that's why these children were sought out, because they wanted to get them in the Montauk chair and do a whole bunch of experiments with not only teleportation into the future or the past. And so there was Al Bielek and his brother Duncan Cameron, and those were the two brothers that jumped off the Philadelphia experiment. So the Philadelphia experiment was taking place in 1943. It was at least 3 different experiments. The first was using Nikola Tesla, and he saw what they were up to. And in the first one, literally pulled the plug on it, didn't want anything to do with it. But the military, being the military they are, wanted to achieve invisibility. So they were basically ramping up some magnetic motors aboard the USS Eldridge that Tesla helped wire up to get to a certain speed, which is 9/10 the speed of light. And this also happens to be the same dynamics for craft to go into that hyperspace mode. Or perhaps a better way to put it is interdimensionality. And in interdimensionality, you can also travel back and forth along the timeline. You're not supposed to do that. It's one of the laws against doing it, because it creates a tear, a fission in space and time. But they did it anyways, and they did achieve the USS Eldridge achieving invisibility, I should say. And it went off the radar for quite a little while. The third experiment that the brothers were on, in the middle of it all, they jumped ship and they appeared exactly to the minute 40 years later, right off of Montauk Point.
Wow.
Like you're jumping off the ship and then splash, you come up for air. It's 40 years later, and then boats were there to intercept the 2 men. They knew it was coming, and there were UFO sightings during this Philadelphia experiment, which became the pickup in Montauk. So I know people in the field, some of the super secret space program people, who went to Montauk on the 80th anniversary, looking for the ship, looking to see if Eldridge might show up, or maybe some other brothers jumped off the ship.
Dude,
yeah,
you're blowing my mind.
This is where it gets really deep, because now we're talking about time travel as well.
Yeah, this is wild. So just so I could just know where I'm at right now. So I read the book, but maybe I missed that part or what. But so you're telling me that they were on that boat and they jumped ship. They appeared 40 years later. How did they get back to the timeline?
They didn't.
Oh, wow. So they would be here right now, like younger.
Yeah, they both lived out their lives. They've since both passed, but they were speaking at conferences, and Carrie Cassidy, for one, knew Al Bielek quite well.
Now, wasn't there some kind of connection where one of these guys was literally the actor himself, Mark Hamill, or am I in the wrong one?
Well, I guess I got to
I might be skipping ahead right here.
Tell you where I'm coming from. No, it's only because I really don't consume media, at least fiction, such as Stranger Things. I should watch it. I really should. And I don't know that movie either.
No, it's not a movie.
I'm a collector. I go through piles of data to collect data points that I put into my esoteric series.
Okay, I got you.
So when I'm telling you these things, I don't know if it's necessarily from Peter Moon's book or my research on the Philadelphia experiment.
So there
is overlap, though.
This is from the Peter Moon. The first.
Yeah. And I know those books. Very familiar with them. and
Yeah.
the different narrative. But there are other parts to it that kind of add on.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I see.
But
Yeah.
Peter Moon did several interviews with Preston Nichols,
Yes. I
who
remember.
was the main engineer in the Montauk Project, as well as Duncan Cameron, the other brother. And I've seen him on several of those interviews. People can go and watch them
Okay.
and get caught up to speed. But they talk about a lot of the stuff we're talking about here,
Okay.
especially the tear in space.
Great.
So the Montauk Project actually had several different purposes. And many of the witnesses said that there were very, very tall Draco reptilians down underneath that base, Fort Hero. I've recently been told that the whole while throughout the 1970s, there was a cloaked Draco reptilian ship that was just going right overhead. It was like a satellite right over Montauk the whole time. So they needed to go up and back, and teleportation is very much real. It's already been experimented and done in laboratories. And when you match this 9/10 the speed of light, the craft that you're in, if you know where to go, the pilots are basically navigating the ship with their minds. And so if you know where to go, you can go far out in the universe to other galaxies. You can go along the timeline of Earth, go back to see the dinosaurs, or go into the future. So in the case of Al Bielek and Duncan Cameron, there were some circumstances in how they were in their bodies in the lifetime they appeared. And some of those circumstances gave them different names and a different upbringing, but they remembered each other and they perfectly corroborated each other's stories. But we have to bring up the whole concept of the grandfather paradox. And this is in Time Travel 101, is that if you go forward or back into a different timeline and you do something like kill your grandfather 100 years ago when he was a boy, okay, then your grandfather's never going to exist. He's never going to impregnate your grandmother. She's never going to have kids, and your parents won't be born and you'll never be born. So the grandfather paradox is that if you do that, if you affect the timeline in such a way that you're making an impact, you can't leave the timeline ever. You are then there stuck for the rest of your life. Okay. But they were doing some experiments with the brothers to take them into the future. And Al Bielek has some incredible interviews about, I think it was 2350 or so, that he goes into. And of course, this is all working with the Montauk chair and these time travel experiments overseen by reptilians, because they were really into this timeline too, for a whole other discussion, is their attempt to take over Earth.
Yeah.
It's not happening. But Al Bielek in the future, 2350, said that the Earth went through some major cataclysms. 9/10 of the population was gone. But we had gone through a pole shift type scenario, whereas the Great Lakes in the Midwest opened up in the Mississippi Valley, and that's where the New Madrid fault line is. It's one of the most active fault lines in the world, but they're really small tremors all the time. But it's showing sign of acting up. That creates a huge chasm between Eastern North America and North America. And Al Bielek was saying that he was in a hospital bed. Of course, when he went to the future, they were expecting him and they put him in a facility, but he was able to watch TV or the news in whatever form that was at that time. And he said the big news of the day in 2350 is that they had finally finished building a bridge from Eastern to Western North America. Must have been over 100 miles long. And that was one thing he remembered. Of course, living in a futuristic city. So even though there is a great loss of life, technology continues on, and whoever survives it will be part of that new futuristic city. So that's why this Montauk is such a fascinating subject. Yeah. So many variables to it.
Yeah, it connects a lot of things. Just really quick, because my audience is mostly anybody can come on this show, man. I'm a Christian, but you don't have to be a Christian to be on the show. I just like to talk about that stuff, and I want to do it for the audience that believes in Jesus. Isn't there a story in there where they traveled back to the time where Jesus's time in the book. You read that part? What now? From what I read,
that was Broadlow.
yeah, from what I read is that they went out there, I think, to get a blood sample from him, I believe, to try to clone him or manipulate his blood. And what happened was in the book, they came back, they came back in time, somehow got the blood sample. I don't know how they got it because it's all, I forgot the book, but because it's a mental time travel, but they somehow brought the blood back.
Yeah.
And when they injected it into him, thinking that it was going to like turn him into this god or whatever, it actually cleansed him. It actually made him a better person or something like that. You know about that one, that part of it?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is all part of also time travel 101 and also learning about the principles of doing it.
Yeah.
And what you're allowed to do. And I mean, this goes back to the Nazis with
yeah.
Die Glock. This is a lot of information I have in my book. Beyond
I'm buying that book after this. I always buy a book.
Get the second edition. It's new just came out.
Well, this guy Broadlaw, he says he went back in physical form.
Yeah.
It wasn't spiritual, whatever. He was there physically, and he was there to shoot the Christ man, he said.
What? I didn't know that.
And the Christ man looked at him, and he knew what was going on already. So he got scared and left, and they punished him, he said. And then when they sent him back, to the time of the crucifixion, when they crucified him. And along with him, he brought a medical kit, and he says he got the blood from the toe of Jesus, and that they were going to clone the Christ in the future. And he says when this Christ figure comes, he says, don't believe it's the real Christ. That's what he said. He said he was there physically. And then going back to Duncan said he can go in the future or wherever and bring back objects. Like, sometimes I'll have dreams about stuff. I wake up, it's not there, right? But he was actually like bringing stuff physically back. And then and I get to, when I think about this, I think about UFOs, I think about extraterrestrials, or whatever you want to call them, and how they can come through the walls. It seems like it's like a Montauk thing. Like they come in spiritually, then they become solid, and they take you and probably put you in a spiritual state. I don't know how they do it, man, but it's like physical and spiritual. They figure this stuff out, man.
Well, really quick, Brad, you heard the story. I forgot what city it is, but this is like a very famous alien abduction where people witnessed a UFO abduct a woman. She went through the wall. That's like a really famous story. But it's like, how does that, like, exactly, how does that happen? Like, there has to be some Montauk stuff.
Well, it's technology. It doesn't necessarily need to be Montauk. But as I said, the way these crafts fly, the UFOs, they're more interdimensional craft. And interdimensionality is part of time travel. So in a way, they're kind of doing that. But the phasing in and out of walls, that was the biggest problem we had when we caught the first gray aliens live out of some of these crashes in the 1940s. They would try to keep them, if they weren't injured, to the point where they couldn't even just get up and leave, because they could just walk through the walls. So it wasn't until they figured out that we have to create a
kind of field
around them. Yeah. Using basically the technology of
against their little asses. Yeah,
I've got one right here. You put your computers in these bags because they shield all radiation, and it wasn't until they figured that out that they could keep captive ET. And then when they do leave, and there are some captives still to this day in Area 51, in the area called S4 in the clean sphere, and occasionally they get out, but they can't walk on the hot sand and desert. It's part of the reason they put it there. And so they'll just come out and find them and grab them and, hey, what are you doing? Taking off. You think you're really going to escape?
that makes a lot of, look, I've been doing this stuff for 37 years, and this is the first time I've heard why it makes sense why all these bases are out in the middle of the desert. That's the first time I've heard that. Okay, now I know that. Excellent.
This one in particular,
why are they always out in the desert, Lionel, the secret bases? Because the aliens can't walk on the sand. There you go. That's my answer now. Beautiful. So well, dude, with that being said, I want to get into more into this. So with the whole Montauk Project, you have all these things that you're talking about, these variables, time traveling, blah, 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 this and that. I want to get into what do you call it, when they were manifesting things, right? And this even goes back to the TV show Stranger Things. So when they were manifesting things, something happened where they called it the beast came out and just annihilated almost everybody in the Montauk base. There were scratches on the walls. There's even pictures on the internet show these big claw marks. Like, what happened? Do you know what happened?
Yeah, the nickname for it in reality was Junior, and it was a Bigfoot Junior. That was the one that manifested most, and that is one that went amok through the town of Montauk. But then there were also other entities that were basically created and were also seen running around Montauk, all kind of crypto creatures, pretty much all that you can imagine. Junior was the most prominent because most people have an idea of what a Bigfoot looks like, right? But I found this really interesting. Do you remember the Hanna-Barbera cartoons where they would have a mummy and a Frankenstein and a Dracula? Those were also manifested. Why? Because the Montauk Boys had that in their mind, that when they were tasked to create a monster with their mind, Hanna-Barbera figures would come into mind and they would pop up. What? So they had this ability to do this direct projecting with their psi abilities enhanced by the Montauk chair to create these crypto creatures. Now, most of them were confined to the base because there are many stories of them stalking the halls of the base, and it was actually very terrifying, as you can imagine. Like you said, claw marks and screams and all kinds of havoc was created by these things. But they couldn't last. Well, they didn't last as long as the person that was projecting them was thinking about it. So when that person stopped, or they concluded that test and they took them out of the Montauk chairs, poof, they just went away.
Okay. So in your opinion, are these things that they're making, are they like summoning some creature from another time, or are they just literally creating this thing with their head? Because that's really complicated to think about. I mean, if you're creating this, how are you making the brain, the eyes, and you know what I mean? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. No, great question. And all I can do at this point, guys, is speculate.
Yeah.
And I do believe it has something to do with the interdimensionality of these creatures, because I go to a lot of locations. I've been to Skinwalker Ranch. Well, my friend owns the property right above it called Space Wolf Research, but we've looked down and done night watches at Skinwalker Ranch a half a dozen times. Bradshaw Ranch near Sedona, which is a kind of a twin brother to Skinwalker Ranch, been there a half a dozen times, and sometimes have seen anomalies. But the thing that is reported at them is, and now there are videos and pictures coming out of these crypto creatures, but basically a portal will open. And if it's nighttime, you would see daylight in the background. If it's daylight, you'll see nighttime in the background, and they literally crawl out of a round portal hole, drop down to the ground, and then just take off running. All around my friend's ranch are all kinds of carcasses of animals. But after they're killed and eaten a little bit, no other animal will go and touch them. It's the weirdest thing. And so this is kind of along the lines of what was happening in Montauk, is that these crypto creatures, they're out there, but they're fourth dimensional beings. But they can sometimes, when the veil is thin, cross over, especially when using technology, and pop into realities. Or come out in places like Utah, the northeast corner where Skinwalker Ranch is located. But it has always been known from the time of the Native Americans that these cryptid creatures were known to stalk this area. And the native people in that area, that's bad juju to them. They stay away from it. They didn't want it. It was the Sherman family that bought the ranch, and they too had all kind of cryptid experiences to the point where it just freaked them out so much. And they lost several dogs too. The dogs would go running out after a cryptid, and the next morning they'd find it all torn up and dead. But it never attacked the humans, nor has it ever attacked the humans, because Bob Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace, he bought it from the Shermans, and then he sold it to Fugel, who now has created the Skinwalker Ranch series.
Wow.
I've met all those guys, but I've only seen one or two episodes. Again, I create
it's hard.
content. I don't really consume it.
That's how you do it, man. And I want to just confirm what you're saying. I have one of my good friends' name is Travis Carpenter. His father was a big Bigfoot researcher, big in that field, and he has a lot of footage of things that he recorded. And there's one that's really famous that's been going around the internet for a couple of years now, where you see this portal open up behind him, and you can see the silhouette open up, and you see a Bigfoot walk right out of it, clear as day. This is like 15-year-old video, man. No AI, no bullshit. This is a real video, man, and it blew my mind.
And you guys can kind of see how this is going into different dimensions. These creatures are coming from somewhere and going somewhere in and out, right? So this is what part of what they're doing with the Montauk experiments is maybe we need to manifest I don't know, reptilian aliens. They were
for what?
Yeah. But the whole thing came to an end. Many thousands now, I'm understanding, of the Montauk boys and children have gone missing, never to be seen or heard from again. Some of them died horrific deaths. Others were they went on a mission, a time mission. They went to another location,
never came back.
And either they screwed up and did something, so the grandfather paradox, they weren't able to come back, and they just got left there.
Yeah.
But I understood that if they were of really exceptional psychic abilities and they got stuck in a timeline, they would go back and get a rescue for them.
Okay. Shit, that sounds complicated, man.
It could be complicated, but this is along the lines of what Andrew Basiago spoke of in Project Phoenix. If you guys know that, he was using different modalities of time travel in Project Phoenix, including going to different locations on Earth at the same timeline, but also going back in time. And this was when the CIA, and of course he was doing it as an adolescent boy. They had the best psychic abilities before our adult minds get corrupted with ideas and beliefs and dogma. Adolescents, especially boys, have the greatest amount of psi abilities. And so they're using him to go back to the Gettysburg Address. And there's a picture with Andrew Basiago as a little kid wearing these really baggy clothes. Why? Because when he ported over to just down the road from where Lincoln was going to give the Gettysburg Address in 1863, he was practically naked. He said when you went on these jump room missions, you had to go with just underwear on or maybe sandals, but basically you're just showing up naked. And so he immediately had to pull some clothes off of a dead Union soldier, and that's what he was wearing in the photo. And I met Andrew Basiago and heard been on interviews with him too. His story never wavers. And not only that, but he went back to warn George Washington on the eve of crossing the Delaware.
Yeah.
With the message from the future. And he met Hamilton first, who's on our $10 bills. Is that the 10? Yeah.
Yes, Jackson.
Alexander Hamilton, the first Treasury Department. Why he's on a bill, I don't know, but he is. But he was British, or he came from a Caribbean island. He couldn't be president because he wasn't born here. But it was a British colony, so he had a British accent. And he was the first to meet Andrew Basiago as a 12-year-old. And he said, well, you're the most peculiar young man I've ever met. We'll have to go and introduce you to General Washington.
Oh, gosh.
And he gets in with General Washington, who was not preparing to leave or do anything. And he says, this young boy claims that he's from the future and has a very urgent message for you, sir. And Basiago said he delivered the message to Washington, which was basically, tomorrow morning, the British are going to hit you guys. They're going to wipe everybody out, and that will essentially be the end of the Revolutionary War, and America will be on the timeline where they will be a British colony.
Wow.
And so, and he said, I am from the future. I'm from this year, 1986, I think it was. and I've been sent here by your future American government, and everything depends on you getting the troops rallied right now and getting in boats and crossing the Delaware.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
And they saved their army.
That's
Because
wild.
yeah, I mean, that's where this stuff
That's so
goes.
wild.
But so many of this stuff is corroborated. And I wanted to jump in with the Jesus Christ stuff.
Oh, let's go.
Because with Jesus, everybody's very much interested in the passion play. That is the last days and hours of his life and the resurrection. Yes, indeed, he was a real man. Yes, he died a very horrible death, being crucified. And this was part of the technology exchange with the Greada Treaty. And Laura Eisenhower is a very good friend of mine. She's not very happy that during Eisenhower, her great-grandfather's administration, he renewed the Greada Treaty, but he did not create it. That was actually back in 1933 aboard aircraft carrier in Panama when it started. It renews every 10 years. So in 1963, there was a technology exchange, and the generals who were meeting gray aliens who were going to give them technology, and this all ties into time travel as well. They presented them with the yellow cube. And this is where things get really interesting. This is a depiction of the yellow cube on my book, Beyond Esoteric, which I get into all this in much greater detail with evidence that this all happened. So the generals were assembled, and the yellow cube works with your psi abilities as well. And it will give you the uncritical history of anything you want to see that ever happened on planet Earth and even beyond. If you know where to ask and you know where to look, it'll take you to other planets and stuff. But it'll take you back to the time of the pyramids. So this is a form of time travel. And this is also the Akashic records. So it's tapping into this memory bank of what has happened here on Earth. And the yellow cube can take you to any event in history. So the assembled generals were all very strong Christian men, and they wanted to see the passion play of Christ. So the yellow cube can create it's a holographic generator of images. And so it just taps into that scene on that day when he was put up on the cross. And they were just aghast. They just couldn't believe it. This is amazing. They, of course, wanted and needed that technology. And they, in turn, allowed these grays, who are basically the minions for reptilians, to continue abducting humans and cattle mutilations and doing what their agenda wanted them to do, the service to self agenda of these malevolent ETs. But the technology was demonstrated, and to my knowledge, it still exists in Los Alamos, in the underground facilities there, where a lot of other inventions are stored. It's where all the free energy patents go to die. And believe me, there have been many. And this is why I call the subtitle of Beyond Esoteric Escaping Prison Planet, because all the good stuff has been withheld from humans, and all this information has been known to only a select few people. That's the word esoteric. So I'm glad you guys are interested in this, and
Absolutely.
why don't we jump in?
Yeah.
I'm sure Dominic and you, Lionel, have something to say on all this.
I have something I want to get into this right now. So with that being said, all that stuff, I want to get into in that series, in the series of those books I was talking about. No, it doesn't have to be just about that, but I like the whole thing where they went into this Antarctica, the black sun. There's a pyramid under the earth. Now, I've done a lot of research on the hollow earth, whatever, Antarctica, the flat earth, whatever you want to call it. They all connect to this Antarctica type of place, whether it's a hole in the ground or it's the ice ring around the flat earth, or whatever the case may be, right? One thing I do know, whether you're flat earther, a globe earther, square earther, triangle earther, it doesn't matter. Every single one of those theories has this theory where there's something in the south. or the end of the earth, which is the Antarctica. Now we have Admiral Byrd, we got Hitler, we got all these little hints of what is out there. We even have these old maps from the 1800s, 1700s, shows the area all nice and green, even has symbols of the animals of that kingdom. Like, for example, Africa, they have a little lion right there. In South America, they have a little jaguar. And then you have these dragon creatures up in Antarctica. So it's like, so everything, if we want to read this map for what it is, why are we going to ignore the dragons and all those weird things, right? So with that being said, I want to get into this Hollow Earth stuff, this Antarctica stuff, because it all connects to the Montauk Project. Like, literally, it's just all connected. Like, all this is just one big experiment by the forces that be in, beyond the veil. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty average, I would say, when it comes to the basic conspiracy theories on what the Hollow Earth is. Like I said, I read into Admiral Byrd. I read into the Nazis escaping there to, do their experiments. And then there's supposedly UFOs that were sought there. And there's like a leader of the earth. I read books about it. What is your opinion on that? What's going on out there in your opinion?
Sure. Well, as we said at the beginning of the show, I've been all to 7 continents. I took a sailboat down to Antarctica about 7 years ago. I was on that boat for 26 days, and we went ashore on continental Antarctica. I could show you on my phone pictures from that trip. I stepped foot on the continent. It's definitely a real place. Okay, in many of those imagined maps of an ice wall, it does not show Antarctica. I can tell you it's a very real place. It's definitely there. And I was looking at all the charts and maps of my captain, and everywhere we went, from depth charts to elevations of mountains, everything checked out with what I saw. So the maps are real. And you were referring to the Piri Reis map. Yeah. And that is fascinating. That is in a chapter of my new book, Secrets of Antarctica, in a whole chapter called Maps of the Sea Kings.
I can't wait.
A Hapgood's book. And so it then shows several maps depicting not only all kinds of megafauna and flora in the continent of Antarctica and that it existed, but also giants feature in some of the maps too. Yep. And I have a chapter on the Patagonian giants and the Lost Lands. This is going to be a great book. It'll be out at the end of the year. We should do another
Dude, we got you right.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Because all this stuff's in there. So
bro,
basically what I want to say is
I just bought your book right away. Esoteric.
You got. I'll hold it up again. In the meantime,
he just
get
bought
caught
your
up with this book.
I just bought that book right there. There you go.
Yeah, Beyond Esoteric. But the whole I think the flat Earth was a psyop to throw us off looking what's under the ice of Antarctica, because there you will find lost continents, missing lands, entire oceans that exist. And get this, guys, I am going to be releasing the very first view in the Western world of these maps that were recovered after World War II of the Germans sailing their U-boats underneath the ice of Antarctica with very exact directions, which we've charted out. This incredible research assistant came into my life at the perfect time, and we've been working together for almost a year. And he's European. He's living in Denmark. He's Dutch, but he speaks German fluently and can translate Russian.
Oh, nice.
So we got the maps, man. We got this is the smoking gun.
Yes, sir.
The whole world down there. And so I think the flat Earth was a psyops to give you a little glimpse of some truth that there is a land beyond the ice wall or beyond the poles, as Admiral Byrd called it. But it's not what you think. It's not on the surface. It's under there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I believe too. It's under
now. It could
now.
be the hole in the ice too.
Yeah, exactly. So really quick, I know you don't watch a lot of entertainment, but we just have to be realistic, man. These people that make these movies, they're not stupid. Either they're really creative or they're just coincidentally hitting the mark on every conspiracy. Now, the new Godzilla movie, King Kong movie, I don't know if you've seen it. They go to the hole in the earth, right? They fall through this big old tunnel to the middle. Once they hit the middle of the earth, there's a portal. Once they hit the portal, they flash into the hollow earth. And there's like this big ceiling There's also another sun in there, a smaller sun. All the dinosaurs are there. These humanoid beings that are giants there. These megafauna. Everything's beautiful. The apples are like this big. It's literally, you know what I mean? All the stuff that we already talk about.
See, guys, art imitates life, and life imitates art. And because we live on a free will planet, we have to be shown the truth. But sometimes they're disguised, right?
Yeah.
Like in all these shows you're talking about. Hey, one thing I did just see was the new Tron movie.
Oh, how was that?
Tron Ares, yeah.
How was that?
So then, and it's all predictive programming too, of course. But they're giving us little hints of the future.
Yeah.
So in this movie now, the robots using AI do turn on humans. They can start killing humans, which
sounds about right.
They shouldn't be doing that. The first law of robotry, according to Isaac Asimov and iRobot, was robots or droids or AI. You are not allowed to hurt your host. You can't kill humans. But we've already crossed the Rubicon there, and now drones are killing humans.
Exactly. No one listens to John Connor, man. Like, people
exactly.
John Connor, bro. Like, come on, man. That movie's like literally everything that's. I don't know. Really quick, I just want to go on to this really quick. I don't know if you remember Terminator 2, but there's a scene where they're driving towards Mexico, and Sarah Connor asks Arnold Schwarzenegger, "How did this war start? World War III?" Well, on July, blah blah blah. AI went live, and within an hour, it turned against humanity, and it started attacking our enemies. It hit Russia first, then China, and then we went to war. Specifically, Russia and China. Come on, man. This movie was written like in 1998. But anyways.
yeah, good one. Yeah. For sure. Just like The Matrix.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So many things that are coming true in it, too. Because I think they knew all this.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
Here's the other thing, and I'm still wrapping my mind around this, guys. That we've got the 3-eye atlas coming in immediately in the next few weeks, and then especially around the holidays in December 21st is the closest Earth's going to be. Then you got this other one, the C3 Swan, coming from the opposite direction, and it's even bigger.
Yeah,
and they're going to rendezvous, or even, I mean, this is getting weird, you guys.
Yeah, I saw that.
My book, I get into Project Bluebeam.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
People to have an idea that this could be setting us up for this fake alien invasion.
Oh, yeah. There's that comment.
This is a scenario we should all consider.
Yeah, there's three. There's
Atlas.
Now
there's three.
And that Lemon, is it Lemon or Limon or something? That's another comment.
The new one just got named.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
But you're talking about that big
one, you guys. And so they're saying that they're thrusting, they're slowing down, they're showing all the uncharacteristic behavior that a comet or an asteroid or anything that is not intelligently driven would not be doing. But these things are doing it, and they're coming here, and it's all going to rendezvous very, very soon. And so when Avi Loeb, who first was the Harvard astrophysicist, who was first to bring this on the mass media, right, owned by a certain group, and by the way, the fastest way to Washington, D.C. is take a left at Harvard. I'll just leave it at that. But Avi Loeb was the first to say, "Oh, we see them out in Jupiter, and now they're coming towards Mars. But when they get to Earth, they could have malintent. This could be an alien takeover." How would you know that?
Yeah.
How could you possibly know what their motivation is unless they're setting up the narrative for Bluebeam? Exactly. So I just want your listeners to be very well aware that if it's aliens attacking Earth in any form or fashion, it's fake.
Yes.
That's what Werner von Braun told his assistant, Carol Rosen, back in the 70s. This is how long out this has been planned. That if they fake an alien invasion, don't believe it, Carol. He said it's all fake. It is the stepping stone to usher in the New World Order. And that is the digital ID, the 15 minutes, more so than that, but it's also a depopulation agenda. This could get really hairy, you guys.
Yes.
And I'm actually very concerned for the human race.
Me too. I'm look at a lot of people think I'm crazy when I talk about this stuff, but I'm like, how do you guys how can you not see the walls closing in on you? Like this isn't a conspiracy no more. I remember 20 years ago, the mark of the beast, little RFID chip, all that would never happen. They're planting. They already made it already. They made that and they went beyond that now. Now they're talking about the digital tattoo from Bill Gates, and that's going to connect to your Neuralink. I mean, we're already past the RFID now. The RFID's that's old technology now. They want more. They want to change your DNA. They want to connect you to the shit. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm 100% with you on what's going on. And the fake alien invasion, like you said, I forgot what president it was, but he even said that. The one before Clinton, I think he said.
Reagan.
Reagan. He said, if there's an alien invasion, we could all come together and go, and start a new world order. It's exactly what you're saying. It's already been going on. All the movies conditioning us. The aliens are always, hanging out in space into the right moment. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And the thing is that if there's so many aliens out there, like all these, the way NASA tells you, there's all these civilizations, planets upon planets, billions and billions. So where are they all at? They've just been hanging out in the space, just watching, like what they're shopping on the rings of Saturn. They don't know time to come by. Because if that was the case, you would see a highway in the sky. There should be highways of these, these aliens and all that stuff, right? I mean, come on,
come say hi.
Yeah, exactly. And they always have the same message. Every time someone gets abducted by these things, it's always the same message. You guys got to stop going to war. We are your God. Yeah. We created you. It's always the same message. Kind of sounds like an agenda. What do I know, though?
Oh, good observation. You're absolutely right. Dominic, do you want to jump in here?
Come on,
man. I've seen enough UFOs up close. I know these things are real, man.
We know they're real. Everybody knows.
We had on my old ranch Lionel's friend, a reptilian, and my dog was dead right there in the corner. And
crazy.
Just a lot of weird stuff, dude. I mean, footprints left by this, I don't know, reptilian thing. Yeah, so they're real, man. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and really quick, so this thing was about 15 feet tall, all black, had like a juicy look to it, like it was greasy, like probably a lubricated kind of look, vibrated, didn't walk, vibrated when it moved.
That's interesting.
And this thing moved faster than the speed of light, because it said when it went away, it just went like, imagine it didn't run, it just went like that into the desert, standing straight up, turned into a little green light and went up to the sky.
Dang.
Next day, our dog Coco, red-nosed pit bull, completely healthy, was sucked up dry to the bone the next day, with no blood, no nothing, sucked up dry, like it got left in whatever you do when you cure meat, like it just sucked dry.
Yeah,
animal mutilation. Wow.
Yeah, it looked like she was dead for a year, man.
Oh yeah, it was awful.
A lot of half rabbits out there I found, no coyote tracks, nothing around, just half rabbits.
Wow.
Giant pyramid looking UFOs, boomerang looking UFOs, orbs.
The ones you saw the orbs with little. You saw the orbs with little fairies in there, right?
Yeah, I saw orbs on a mound. You know those mounds, those dirt mounds. We had one in our backyard, and I saw like this in the color of a rainbow, like yellow, red, green, blue. They're all flying in a circle, like a movie, like a cartoon, and they're all flying like this in a circle over the mountain. And when I looked close to it, I was probably about maybe like 50 feet away, but close enough because I was getting scared. And they looked like there was like little creatures inside of them, flapping wings. So whatever the hell that is, and this is like when I wasn't even 15 yet. So I don't know what a fairy is. I don't know what orbs are. I'm just telling you what I saw with my own eyes. And it's not just me. A lot of people saw this. And that just brings me back to all this stuff in the Hollow Earth. Now, with the whole Hollow Earth thing, I want to pick your brain about that. What is the black sun, this theory of the black sun? Is this something that creates light, or is it the opposite of light? Is it absorbing light? What is this black sun that Hitler talked about? And all these conspiracies that was supposedly powering the Hollow Earth, and it's the Vril energy. They said this energy comes from it, and it's called the Vril. Now, what is this Vril energy?
Yeah.
What exactly is this?
Okay, guys. All right, we got enough time.
Yeah.
Let's go into Vril. It's very fascinating, and this all roads lead to Antarctica. That's the headline on the back of my new book.
It might be.
There's no books roads that lead there, but so Vril. Starting right after World War I, so this is over 100 years ago, some women with incredible psychic abilities. Here's that psi abilities again. They wore their hair really long to make them more telepathic. They were meeting in a Bavarian hunting lodge. And my research friend, Frank Jacob, he lives down there with Tanya Madenford. And the three of us are speaking at a conference in Germany in May. and we're going to go to the Bavarian Hunting Lodge near Berchtesgaden
Oh,
in
wow.
Bavaria.
That's
See,
cool.
that's why I love traveling, you guys, because this is part of the story.
If you ever
And
need
so
a helper, bro, you can hire me. I'll be your bodyguard. I want to go.
now you want to travel. Yeah.
I'll be your bodyguard, bro. Let's go.
I might need that. So check this out. So these Vril women started this Vril society, and they were downloading blueprints that could be written down by engineers or them. They could sketch it out. They could start moving pencil to paper and graphing this stuff out, to the point that Victor Schauenberger, the famous UFO engineer creating their own flying craft, he said, this is actionable intelligence. We can work with this stuff.
Wow.
So the Vril women were getting this information, and it was also part of the Vril is also the fabric of energy in the universe itself. So plasma is 99% of the entire universe. And so Vril is like a form of that plasma in energy form. And so the Vril women were also, this is how they were powering these craft. They were able to tap into this Vril energy source. And so then in the 1930s, all the top elite Nazis, from Adolf Hitler to Heinrich Himmler to Adolf Hess and several other the top dogs, they were all part of the Thule Society, Thule. And this too was very similar to the Vril, but they were looking into the ancient ancestors and all the techno spiritual magic type stuff that they could get, including
are these really quick? Are these the people that Hitler was looking into, the Aryan race, and Madame Blavatsky we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Because after that becomes the Anunnaki Society, and of course I have all this very detailed and beyond esoteric.
I just bought the book.
It's going to appear in my next book in Antarctica too, because it all ties in. It's how the Germans got this high technology, and they were so light years ahead of anybody on Earth.
Yes. Yep.
So the Vril women were tapping in with Aldebaran, and my good friend Alex Collier, he's also a contactee with them, and he absolutely says yes, they were, because Germany, right after World War I, they were a peaceful country, but they were also the best engineers. So the Aldebaran thought, well, okay, we'll give it to them. Let's hope they use it for good. But then the Thule Society usurped the Vril Society because they realized, hey, this is technology that we need to start developing. They were already starting to think we could be at a world war again. And so that's when the Aldebaran cut them off, but not completely, because the Vril women, some of them disappeared at the end of the war, and they might have gone to the Aldebaran. With Kammler, the chief technology guy. He also went missing at the end of the war. But some people say Maria Orsic is still alive and in Antarctica, because they're using anti-aging technology, that they still look like they're in their 30s, beautiful supermodel, but they're 200 years old.
That's something that I want to talk about later, but go ahead.
Okay, so all the variations of Vril. So then when the Germans started manufacturing these craft, the first prototype, the first dish-shaped craft, backward engineered, using information from the Vril women, but also the Germans acquired their own crash discs in the Black Forest in 1933, and then an almost intact UFO went down in the Lombardy region of Italy in the late 1930s, and Mussolini turned over that craft to the German scientists. So they were working on all this incredible technology. So even Hermann Oberth, who was one of the paperclip Nazis that came over here and helped start up NASA, when asked at his retirement, how did the Germans get so incredibly advanced so quickly? His answer was, well, we had help from our friends above. Yeah. So they were working with ET groups, these malevolent ET groups. They allied with the wrong group.
Hard to get in contact with these things.
Yeah. And they promised them. Yeah,
No,
well, telepathically.
telepathically, right? Is it
Yeah,
called automatic writing, something like that, right? A lot of it was
correct.
just
So many
channeled to them.
different ways. Yeah, and then eventually you can get these beings to manifest. They will come down and they'll see you. This is what a lot of satanic rituals are all about.
Oh,
So
Aleister Crowley, he
oh yeah, you bet.
manifested that alien called the ayahuasca or something like that. Look, he drew the whole damn thing. It looked like a gray alien. Same thing with what's that guy? Um, Parsons, Jack Parsons, same thing. Manifested these UFO creatures.
You are
You know,
going to see that in Beyond Esoteric.
Uh-huh.
Because think
bro,
about this: if
I
we
need that
were
book.
There you go.
Okay.
if we were in some kind of secret society and we were summoning entities that might come down and meet us and do their bidding for them, and we would just be blown away by seeing them, wouldn't that seem pretty darn realistic that all of us would, even if we were non-believers, suddenly get on board with that?
Yeah, of course. That's the great deception right there, in my opinion. Coming from a Christian, this is the
That's
great
right.
deception. This is the ultimate deception.
The greatest deception the devil ever made on the
Yes,
human race was making
exactly.
us believe it didn't exist.
Yes,
And
that's the
wizards have been able
Wow.
to get
Yeah.
these things to manifest throughout the centuries. Throughout the centuries. It's not just a recent thing.
there's
That
nothing
they
new.
would have incredible abilities, that they would then use their psychic abilities in communicating with these things, them manifesting, and the devil's deal was brokered.
Yeah.
This is
When
John
is
Dee,
That's
all the way back into Elizabethan age. They've been using scrying mirrors and the crystal ball. John Dee developed the crystal ball,
yes.
where entities will come in and be made manifest and seen.
Wow.
Yep.
Dude, I would love to get into another episode. I wanted to also ask you this. With all these entities that we're talking about, I know some of these entities that Hitler was chasing also go back to the giants, right? These Aryan, blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes, red hair. That's what most of the giants look like right now. I wanted to just run this by your brain a little bit right now.
Yeah.
So just in my opinion, all the study I've done, I'm 37 years old. I've probably been doing this since I was like 20. So I have, 20, since I was 15. So I have about 17 years of research, right? Not as much as you, but enough. And from what I've put together, you have these giant entities, right? They're powerful, strong, psychic abilities, the whole nine, right? And then you have the Montauk Project specifically kidnapping only humans that have the same characteristics: blonde hair, blue eyes, red hair, green. So my thing is there some kind of old genetic relation from the giants to this race of people?
That is a great question.
Like, why? Like, why blonde hair, blue eyes? Because you like blondes? No, there has to be a reason behind it.
Let me tell you why. Have you ever heard of Rh negative blood types?
Yes, the rarest
And
one.
you know the Rh negative blood types are very unusual. I happen to be in an Rh negative blood family.
Okay.
So my grandmother, she married a man who is Rh positive blood, and they had my dad, who's Rh negative and is O negative blood, the rarest blood in the world, but also he could donate his blood to any living human in the world. However, if you gave my dad any other blood but his own, he would die.
Oh, okay? Wow.
So there's this very weird blood anomaly among humans. And so much so that my grandmother's second child, my uncle Douglas, he was born Rh positive blood. And while he was being born, some of my grandmother's blood infected his, and he became what was known as a blue baby. And it basically, his antibodies went to kill that infected Rh negative blood, and he died at 5 days old.
Oh, wow.
This is right in my family, man. So I know all about this stuff. And
wild.
yes, you are absolutely right. There are at least two kinds of humans within our human family. Yeah. And it's these Rh negative blood types. So let's go a little deeper.
Yeah,
where do you find Rh negative blood types primarily in the world? Blonde hair, blue eyed lands such as Scandinavia, such as the British Isles, and then most especially in the Basque region between France and Spain. And it's 25% of the population are Rh negative there.
Wow, that's big.
There's also a pocket of them with multicolored eyes and lighter hair in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. So Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He had some very interesting things to say about this, including the fall of Atlantis. And the fall of Atlantis, which was this continent in the Atlantic, and there might even be vestiges of it in Antarctica. When it went down, the survivors went in two directions on either side of the Atlantic. They started the high Mesoamerican cultures, and there is some Rh negative blood over there, but by far the large majority of them came over to Europe, and that's who the Rh negative blood types are, the survivors of Atlantis. Now get this.
That's crazy.
In the old days, they had 12 strands of DNA, unlike our 2 strands of DNA. But right now, humans are evolving. And right now, there have already been born children with 3 strands of DNA. And so many of us are, this is all species, not just humans, but all species are always evolving. They're always trying to up level because that's what we do as living species. And so, but every once in a while, you'll get these anomalies that will that will leap forward, genetic mutations leap forward, and then the trait will then become part of that species. But Edgar Casey was saying that when Atlantis was falling, and part of it was, here's these pesky reptilians again, they were coming in to basically, they wanted to take over. And so they've been doing this for thousands of years, but they don't have the numbers like we do by many fractions. They're very small compared to us. So they needed to do it in a very subtle way. But one of the things they did with all the 12-strand DNAs that were still alive, they killed off all the men. So then the only way a woman who had 12 strands of DNA could only mate with a 2-strand DNA humans. And eventually we all became 2-strand DNA. But the Rh negative blood type remained. And that's
interesting.
where that came from.
It's interesting you say 12 strands of DNA. The first thing I think about is 12 tribes of Israel. I don't know if that's
there's a lot of parallels with,
that's what I'm saying,
with the ancient stories. Yeah, like the biblical flood. Yeah, there were huge pole shift events that basically wiped out civilization, that sunk Atlantis.
What do you
before that Lemuria, and before that Hyperborea. So my next book after Antarctica is called Underwater Archaeology. And I go around the world and show all the sites, some of them with megalithic designs. Now tell me, how can you possibly create a megalithic structure underwater? There had to have been a time when they were above water and then they sunk.
It's kind of like 70% of the earth is water, maybe because there was a flood. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that's why there's a lot of water here. You know what I mean? But but I wanted to run this by you. So the Bible and the book of Enoch talks about how these 200 angels fell from heaven, right?
Right.
Boom, along with Satan. Now we have all these recorded craters on Earth, right? But there's no rock there. It just looks weird. There's 198 of them. What do you think about that? 200 fallen angels, 198 craters on Earth. 2 more we haven't found, in my opinion.
Well, that's the first time I've heard that, but very interesting.
It's crazy, bro. It's wild. I look into all this stuff, and like I said, it all connects to, Montauk, flat Earth. I mean, not flat Earth, the hollow Earth. And because when you go to the Admiral Byrd, he said he met the leader of the Earth, right? And he was this big, tall, ancient looking creatures, giants, right? We have giants in every civilization, the Bible, the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, whatever, all the way back to ancient times. And it kind of seems like, well, if we're going to use our brain here, everybody's talking about it. There probably was a subhuman race that were giants, and everybody talked about them like there were these godly beings with supernatural strength, even had elemental abilities, telepathic abilities. All this stuff is 100% real. And I find it fascinating. I really do find it fascinating that we have all this stuff in our history. And it kind of blows my mind how a lot of people just don't see that as something that's amazing. Like, how does that not blow someone's mind that there was, a griffin one day and some giant riding it, fighting an angel, whatever, UFOs going around. I mean, this stuff happened. That's why we have all these ancient, things buried underground, like the pyramids under the water. I mean, all this stuff was built by amazing technology. and it's all gone now. We're getting back to it. But this great deception that we're talking about that could possibly happen with these alien things, I think that's when that day comes, I think that's when the government or the people at B that run this earth are going to finally stop holding back with their technology and their evil plans. I think once the false deception happens, they're going to go 100% at us. That's what I think.
And that time could be coming up very soon here with this 3-Eye Atlas and all the others that are coming in. The Great Deception, right? We all know it was coming. That's the MO of the devil, right? Is always to trick and fool us.
Exactly. And, just for this time we have left, I want to talk about that. So I don't know if you remember a year ago, it was all over the news. There's all these drones, they called them drones, all these sightings. I even saw some crazy ones. I saw one morph into like another shape. And it was daily. Remember, it was all over the world. And then all of a sudden, it just all stopped. And then during that same time, there was that incident in Miami where, remember the Miami? Oh, the alien Miami. It's just all during the same time with the drones. And then you had the other one about a few months before that in Vegas, where two people, it's on camera. You see two interdimensional looking things. This shit all happened within a year, and it all just went away. So to me, it was like, I think they were getting ready to introduce it, and maybe something happened. Oh, we're going to pull back. Because why? It just for a whole year, boom, it was crazy. What do you think about that?
Well, I think all those events actually occurred. And in this age where everybody has a cell phone video, now we're able to catch a lot more of that footage. Yeah. But you're right. And the Miami Mall, that was a portal.
That was huge.
Out of a portal. And then the other one in Vegas, and I live in Nevada, like all the weirdness here.
Wild, man.
They were like the tall whites, but they were kind of interdimensional. So they were sort of phasing in and out. They weren't completely here, but they did render on that film that you're talking about. And I've watched that many times.
Dude, that kid they're terrified. They're terrified. So there's obviously something going on. Reminds me of that movie Signs, the way they're, glitching in and out and all that stuff. So you had all these events happen right within the year, all this crazy stuff. If I think about it, there's probably more that I didn't really overlooked. But then you're starting to see footage now of this guy like wearing a metal suit with the little hoverboard. You see that one? That was a couple months ago. Now this dude's popping out everywhere. Okay, he's being sighted like Iron Man. He looks like Iron Man in the sky. So then I think about that, and then I always connect something. What about the story in South America where these people got their faces peeled off by these people or these humanoids in a metal suit with a hoverboard? So I'm starting to think, like, are all these things that we've been told about, are they all just coming out now? Like they're getting ready to just boom, pounce on us? Because like I said, everything about a year and a half ago, you had the Miami incident, the Nevada, all the drones in the sky. It seemed like to me they were getting ready to finally give their deception, and then everything stopped. And then also during that time, there was those sightings with those cities, those floating cities. That was also going on. Remember those cities in the sky, like all this crazy shit. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen, and all of a sudden, it's been like a year of nothing.
Yeah.
I question that. It's like, what is their plan? Because that was that was the whole big thing, and then all of a sudden, October 7th happened. Boom, all went away with Israel. Once that war happened, all the drones, no one cared anymore.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't say it's all gone away. There's still incredible footage coming out, and there's even a congressman that is talking not only about UFOs, but coming up out of the ocean and being in underwater bases. And this, to me, this is groundbreaking.
That's 100%.
And of course, you have the Grush testimony. I think he's spot on. And my whistleblower through Linda Moulton Howe, Brian S., about the giant hole in the ice. And this is the entrance to Hollow Earth. So we should do another talk when the book comes out. And
we got to do one. We have
right into the chapter. And
I would love to, man. I still want to pick your brain for the 10 minutes. Dominic, you have anything?
No, man. Just letting Brad talk, man. Get all this information out. Hey, but actually, I met Linda Moulton Howe and Jim Mars.
Yeah.
When he was around at the LA convention.
Yep.
And they invited me over for a drink, and it was good talking to them, Linda and Jim Mars, and I was telling them my stories. And
that's great.
Yeah, man, it was good. She's a nice lady. So was Jim. Yeah. Jim was a nice guy too.
Jim was a great guy, and I got one chance to hang out with him and talk to him, and
Yeah.
party with him at Contact in the Desert in the green room. And then unfortunately within a year he passed. But
Yeah.
Linda Moulton Howe is a very good colleague of mine. We speak on the phone every once in a while, see each other at conferences. And
Yeah.
she did me the biggest solid in the new book's career. And that is letting me talk to Brian S., her whistleblower,
Yeah.
who saw the hole in the ice.
Wow.
And not only that, but there were cat tracks and snowmobile tracks heading out into the no-fly zone.
Cats?
Well, cats are like the snow cats that
Okay, okay.
Oh, okay.
yeah, they work on ski mountains.
Yeah.
That's how they basically move most of the supplies in Antarctica are on the snowcats from McMurdo to base at South Pole.
Yeah.
But they had to do an emergency evacuation, and they defied the no-fly zone because it was a life or death situation. And that's when him and the whole crew saw the hole in the ice. And all these tracks go from South Pole Station through the no-fly zone, which is also a no-go zone. I have those maps. I reproduce them in my new book. That nobody's allowed to go there because they're air sampling. There's supposed to be a station out there. Brian S. said there's no such thing. That's the cover story to keep you from flying over the hole. And so all those tracks are going out, and get this, guys, they corkscrew down into a road. So inner Earth is accessible by air, land, and sea. The sea with the U-boat maps, which I'm reproducing in Secrets of Antarctica book, how they got in there into inner Earth. And it doesn't even need to be below the surface of the Earth. We're talking 2 miles under the polar plateau of ice, because Antarctica is the most volcanically active continent in the world. 14 active volcanoes and 91 known geothermal features.
Wow.
So you have the propensity to create these huge under ice domes with chimneys where the heat needs to escape in the form of these holes. And the one at the South Pole is not the only one. There are several, but they're all top secret. And I think that is why the NSA is down there. No such agency to protect these. This is the core secret of Antarctica, and why nobody can go there and nobody can see it, and nobody is allowed to know it exists, because this is it. This is where Admiral Byrd, he was the first one to fly over it in 1929, and he most certainly saw it. And I have the map of his direction. So now he just gets to the hole, and you'd think, all right, let's just head back to base and pop the champagne when we get back. No, he goes 50 miles out where the hole is and does this triangular formation, flies over it, and saw it like Brian S. did. Then he went back to Little America. But during high jump, it's even in the records of the official operations as part of Operation High Jump that Byrd was flying to the pole. He was also flying to New Schwabenland, where the Germans were. Yeah. He was an expert aviator. He flew across the Atlantic, flew to the North Pole. And so he goes back on a return visit in late 1946. And that's when he knows that the hole's big enough that a plane could fly into it. And that's when he was intercepted by 2 UFO craft called Flugel rods and escorted to the domain of the Ariane, where he went to meet the master who warned him about nuclear bombs. And that's the story. And then when he flew out, same way he came in, the last thing the 2 pilots said to him were "Auf Wiedersehen," which is goodbye in German. Yeah. So my suspicion is the domain of the Ariane they were adapted with the Germans, who called it the New Berlin base. And it's a massive city down there. Yeah. That is their science city, New Berlin, at the South Pole.
So the whole idea is that these Nazis kind of just been thriving out there since they went out there, like there's building out there. Is that the whole thing, or is that the idea?
Well, not only that, but they attached on with these tall white Nordic beings, which was the master, which were these pilots. They may be extraterrestrial, but very human looking, right? Yeah. These are the Aryans that the Nazis were absolutely obsessed with meeting. Wow, and they did in Shambhala in Tibet. Okay, so remember that movie 7 Years in Tibet? That's one. But it didn't talk about them looking for the entrance to inner Earth there.
Yeah.
But when the last team came back in 1938, Ernest Schaefer, he was carrying some very valuable information, and
Like,
the Germans could not prepare fast enough to go immediately to Antarctica with this information.
what was the information?
How to get into inner Earth. It
Oh,
was
okay.
directions. They had made some kind of link or connection with these inner Earth beings. I guess they felt like they could trust the Germans, and they started working with them and gave them the directions to take the U-boat submarines underneath here. And in 1943, the admiral of all the U-boat fleets in Germany, named Karl Donitz, he said to his submarine fleet that we have found in the farthest corners of the Earth and have created an impregnable fortress for the Führer. Okay, so just let that sink in. It's not that we plan to do it. It's not that we hope to do it. We've already done it in 1943. It's done. And incidentally, also in 1943, after the Battle of Kursk, where one of their UFOs, their backward engineering, was sighted, not in combat, but just as observing the battle, the largest tank battle in history. Right after that, the German high command knew we're going to lose. Once the tide turned on the Eastern Front, it was okay. We're going to lose. So how are we going to do this? And the way they did it is they got all their technology out, all the money out. Okay, so many metric tons of gold went missing from Europe at the end of World War II. Not only that, but some priceless artifacts like the Spear of Destiny as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is all in the new book. Wow. and so the money guy, Martin Bormann, he was tried in Nuremberg in absentia and found guilty and put to death if they ever caught the guy. They never caught him, but he kept popping up all over South America. And the CIA was created in 1947 with some help from paperclip Nazis. So the Nazi infection came to America, and they went right up to the highest positions they could in NASA, in business, in government, and in the CIA. And it was the CIA that continued to depose democratically elected governments like Allende in Chile, and they put in Pinochet after Perón was replaced. So they're just going through these fascist dictators in South America that were giving cover to the rise of the Fourth Reich.
Right. Wow.
The third force that was always there. And they were also centered out of Antarctica and the micronations that they created in South America. Because when I was down there, just really quickly, guys, this is mind-blowing. But when I was going down there 7 years ago, I was driving through South America, and we found these micronations and these German enclaves with a lot of money, with their own laws, with their own barbed wire fences that would start these colonies. And this was the Fourth Reich. And they had the money to do it. They had all the money to do it. And they built these shell companies. Martin Bormann financed all these other businesses. They got their top businessmen into our corporations by owning the rights with the stock market. This is how they game the system. But all the while, they've been underground, and literally underground bases in South America, and then under the ice in Antarctica.
That's crazy.
Wow, dude, that's crazy information, man. I'd like to get into that more next time, those little villages. But really quick here, we're gonna close out in about a couple minutes. Dominic, you have anything else to say? You haven't been talking much.
No, man, I'm just listening, just absorbing all this information. And Brad, I mean, it was super having you on. The information is just like wow, you know, you added so much stuff, you know, to Montauk and Antarctica and Admiral Byrd, and it was really interesting, man. You have so much information in that head of yours that I got to get your new book too when it comes out.
Thanks. Well, you guys will like Beyond Esoteric.
Yeah, I just bought it.
And then there's also Modern Esoteric and Future Esoteric.
Nice.
CCCpublishing.com. If you want to get a signed copy, you can get them off of there. Or the new book will be up shortly. I want to have physical copies. It's just about ready to ship off to the printer.
Nice.
And then I'll put that on CCCpublishing.com, Secrets of Antarctica. But if you want to find out more about me and other projects I'm working on, And my conference schedule, where I'm speaking live, is at bradolsen.com, just as it's spelled right there on the screen.
Nice. Thank you very much. Did you plug a YouTube in already, right? YouTube channel, the whole nine.
Yeah, but a YouTube channel, CCC Publishing. But when all the channels were getting taken down, I stopped creating content or putting it up on YouTube. But Laura Eisenhower just got her channel back. So did Michael Jaco. And so
Nice.
Apparently you can say the V word now and not get a strike.
Nice. Perfect. All right. So with that being said, buddy, thank you for coming on the show. Definitely want to have you back on. God bless you. Had a really good time. Hope the audience learned something new. We digged into a lot of different things. So please, if you guys have any questions when this episode is out, feel free to write in the comments. We'll answer any of your questions. Also, if you want to be on the show and share your story, whether you don't have to be an author, you don't have to be, all locked into all this stuff. You can just be a regular person and want to tell your testimony. We want everybody on the show that wants to get their story out there. So if you guys want to get a hold of me, sabbathatmidnight@gmail.com, or you can DM me on any of my social media websites. With that being said, once again, God bless you. Thank you again, Brad, for coming on the show. We're going to close out here. Don't hang up. I'm just going to end this recording. Good night, everybody from California. Let me see. Boom.
Finally, I feel alive, and I know why. Cause I'm giving all the glory to the Most High. They don't want to hear the truth, that is no lie. If we ain't in the last days, then we're close by. The devil's trying to snatch your soul, and it's not a game. You hear me saying Jesus Christ, and it's not in vain. They might get offended every time I drop his name, but I'ma let them know that I'm not ashamed. That's right, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. Even if I know it'll be making them hostile. Thinking about the persecution of apostles. They want to see his people in the dirt with the fossils. You may be thinking that might sound extreme, but you gotta ask yourself, is this life what it seems? People suffering for Christ in this world full of schemes and agendas. Would you give your life for the king? Give it up. Martyrdom, yeah, that really is the thing. Better look it up if you don't believe, you know what I mean? We gotta try our hardest not to be so naive and be mindful of the children and people that bleed for the name of Christ. The only one that can save your life. He saved mine never once, gotta thank him twice. The amount of 1,000 thanks in a day, knowing I gotta give him more praise when I pray. Finally I feel alive, and I know why. Cause I'm giving all the glory to the Most High. They don't wanna hear the truth, that is no lie. If we ain't in the last days, then we're close by. The devil's trying to snatch your soul, and it's not a game. You hear me saying Jesus Christ, and it's not in vain. They might get offended every time I drop his name, but I'ma let them know that I'm not ashamed. Can't be content with just church on Sunday, or just going through the motions, cause one day I'ma have to give account for my time spent, and where my empty words and all of that pride went. Calamity bringing clarity. Seems like a good church these days is a rarity. 1 out of 7 in the book of Revelation. A perverse generation on the verge of devastation. A sign of the times, realizing that I'm in danger if I don't put my mind to the grind and do a work for the Lord. Every verse is a sword. Overseas there is people getting murked for the Lord. Imagining the whole church in the court, death itself shortly after rebirth in the Lord. Rapping for Christ like I wanna be his hype man, and I know opportunities have a lifespan. Finally I feel alive, and I know why. Cause I'm giving all the glory to the Most High. They don't wanna hear the truth, that is no lie. If we ain't in the last days, then we're close by. The devil's trying to snatch your soul, and it's not a game. You hear me saying Jesus Christ, and it's not in vain. They might get offended every time I drop his name, but I'ma let them know that I'm not ashamed.
The idea is trusting in God even when it doesn't make sense. From 2 Timothy 1 verse 12, this is why I am suffering as I am, yet I am not ashamed, because I know whom I have believed. I am convinced that he is able to guard what I have entrusted to him for that day. I am not ashamed, he says. I'm not ashamed to trust God with my life.